Welcome back, everyone. It's like we want to cast more StarCraft. That's an exciting thing. Oh man, you talk about games. How lucky are we that we not only had Serral Classic, which was fantastic. Again, go back and watch it. Now we have the number one Zerg in Serral against odds on the number two Terran in the world in Cure in a matchup determined to make sure that you don't have to go to round five to get out into the playoffs right now. And Steadfast, this has got to be something where Cyril's favored in, but the results that Cure's been putting up over the last pretty much since a Katowice where he disappointed in, it's not the same. It's not as much of a favored setup as I think we're people at home are thinking about.
No, this is definitely, I still think, and especially when you look at the actual matchups, I definitely think we do have to say that Serral is the favorite here. And I would even go so far as to say the heavy favorite. But like you said, Cure has been on a huge upswing recently. He has really been performing well. They actually did play in the Africa TV Cup recently, and Cure got to the finals there. It was a 4-1 victory for Serral, but I don't know. I think Cure, if he has a really good day, he can get it done. But let's see. We're starting things right here, right now. Spawning down on the bottom right for Team Abydos. It is Cure.
In the upper left, though, in the blue, he's playing for Basilisk, looking to advance on into the playoffs. Give it up. It's Serral.
And Serral is doing something very interesting to start things off here. We've talked about it ad nauseum, but we haven't seen it very much in the actual tournament from him. He is going for the Extractor Trick 15 hatch, something we have seen from the Brazilian Zerg player Eric. And I mean, we've started calling it the Eric opener as a result. You mentioned it already. He partially used it to discombobulate Dark and beat him in back-to-back weeks in the ESL Open Cup NA, which was an amazing achievement. But Serral doing it in ZBT, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's something that we first, to my mind at least, I first saw Terran players start to do it in the Solar Series, or in the Solar's round of 8 of his GSL, because he ran into two Terrans, I think. But he ran into, I want to say it was Cure, actually. No, it was Beyond and, anyway, Beyond and Cure, I think is what, no, Beyond and Gumiho. There we go. We got it figured out. And it makes sense against Beyond, right? You go the quick pool, you're able to deal with the 2 racks in the wall, kind of Reaper pressure, and that makes sense. But he's been doing it to everyone now, and in part it keeps you safe from something like a 2 racks if you're worried about that one. It means that you have your queens and your hatch is just a little bit faster. But other than that, I mean, I know we talked about it on Real Talk Strategy Steadfast, but I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it if you're not purposefully defending against, say, the 2 racks Reaper opener or something like that.
I mean, I like it in the sense that you get faster queens. For a couple reasons. One, you can skip early lanes, as we're going to see here. The queen pops out so quickly. The creep gets down a little bit faster. I mean, it's nice. The fact that you didn't have to build 4 lanes, that's amazing. That's amazing. And especially on a map like Babylon, where there is that, ramp at the natural, there's less room to jump in. And it's going to be at least for a little bit, a 2 base opener from Serral. He does go for the 4 queen opener. Behind this, double Overlord. This might seem like a supply block, a bad one, but it's actually a planned supply block off of that 4 queen opener. And he does go for a sneaky gas mine, no lane speed, and it's going to be a fast layer. Is this okay? There's a few things this could be, but my first question is this going to be like 2 base Muta? That's a big scout, by the way.
That's a massive scout right there. Now, Cure would love to know exactly how many gas are going to end up getting taken. Okay, he's not going to see that. But yeah, okay, look at this. Roachborn in the natural here. Does Serral just drop a Nidus? You got to have a 3rd base on the way. Otherwise, this is some sort of pressure coming out of Serral. Okay, there's the drone for the 3rd.
I think this is going to be the play that Eric actually does as the follow-up. It is a very cool 2 base play where you go for a big roach drop with the queens in tow, they go into the Overlord and they're all over the place. They're dropping creep all over the entrances of the Terran's base. And in that case, the exit of the Terran's base. And you can creep the map up ridiculously well. And it is really uncomfortable to deal with. It's very awkward, but we haven't seen Overlord speed yet. So there's no confirmation of that. We don't know for sure what this is, but on the other side, Cure, he doesn't really know what this is yet either. He is dropping a bunker. He does have that third CC, and he is getting a fast stim, but this was a quick Viking out of Cure. No Cloak Banshee, which is funny, because when I think of Terran openers, and I think of like what players do and what they're known for, Cure is like the most Cloak Banshee player of all time. But it looks like for now, Serral's just going to drop some creep in the middle of the map. And it's going to be no Overlord speed, no Overlord drops. But he is going to, he's going to harken back to the old school days of TLO, where he used to drop creep and use queens for that.
Yeah, and you talk about, Cure being the most Hellion Banshee, whatever, most Hellion Banshee ever. I think in general, we talk about Terrans, right? Clem's for his multitasking, Bjorn's for his Reaper Micro, Morrow's for his late game. And Cure is just Terran, right? He plays the most standard possible Terran game. And that's not a bad thing. Again, he's the #2 Terran in the world. He's had, he made the finals of GSL Season 1, made top 4 GSL Season 2. Like, he's playing very well right now. But he plays Terran. He plays that standard setup. And look at this. Look at what Serral's doing. This was quick lair, quick into roaches, roach speed. But he's not committing to it. He's behind this. There's Ling speed on the way. There's 1-1. There's the infestation pit. This is going to be like a quick 2-2, maybe even 1-1 Ling Bane ultra style of composition here. And if Kurita doesn't figure out what's happening here, he's going to be prepping for the totally wrong thing.
And I love this so much. This is the kind of mentalist weirdness that makes Dark such a terrifying player to play against and to try and prepare for. This is an exact Dark play, is to build a bunch of roaches. You still get the melee upgrades. Hold that we're going to see the drop into the main base, but Serral, he's got enough to deal with this. He loses, I think, 1 roach, but kills a couple Marines. It's pretty much a dead even trade. And Cure, he does scout the hive, but that doesn't necessarily tell you that your opponent is transitioning into the melee style, into what is probably going to be... Well, actually, Serral's still building roaches. How many roaches does he have on the field right now?
I feel like he's just building these roaches because he needs
roaches,
them.
Okay.
His Baneling Nest isn't ready yet.
Yeah. This is... Well, he hasn't even built the Baneling Nest, which is surprising.
It's on the way.
Serral does lose an Overlord there. He gets a little bit supply blocked, but this is really neat. This is really neat out of Serral. Like I said, taking... Oh, no, he does have the Baneling Nest done. He just didn't start Bane Speed yet. Yeah, he does have take a page out of Dark's book. And I really like that Serral's willing to expand his repertoire, look at what other players do that is cool and that is difficult to deal with, and he adopts it and adapts it. As I say that, very nice job from Cure. Jumps 2 queens in the middle of the map. That's a really great find for denying creep here.
Yeah, and he's going to get a little bit more creep tumors. Now, Steadfast, going back to what you said about like the hive not telling Cure anything, and one could argue that the hive is actually the opposite of that, because Dark has a build very similar to this, where he goes roaches and he goes into that quick hive specifically to get quick lurkers. Now Cure is going to jump on top of a lot of these roaches, and he's going to be able to click on this. He's going to see that there's in fact +1 carapace, no attack upgrades, and that might be able to tell the story here. It certainly allowed him to take this fight, and now into the main base. Vipers are... Where are they? They didn't pop out of the main. That's not going to be a prize that Cure's going to find. But seeing Ling speed done, seeing only +1 carapace, and maybe he could click on a Ling and see +1/+1 done as well. So now he should have some understanding, right? Cure at this point should have seen enough to figure out, okay, you know what? The roaches were transitory. They're not what he's going for. It's going to be Ling Bane. It's going to be probably Ultras with how quick this hive is. This should be enough.
We will see. We do see Cure. He's on double factory. I don't think he built a 3rd command center. So the fact that it's double factory on... Okay, there we go. There's the 4th command center now. But double factory before... Nah, never mind. It's a moot point. If he gets the 4th CC, I was wondering if this might have been like a big 8 racks, double tank, 2 tanks at a time, huge 2-2-1 push. but we're not going to see that. We will see Serral, however, getting it on the other side of the map. He gets a cancel on the 4th base. That's a really nice find for pretty much free. That was like 1 Roach for an SCV and a canceled 4th command center. That's really nice for Serral. Ooh, is it going to go for the fight? No. It is a really nice tank spread for Cure, but Serral's got this 2-2 timing advantage. Where are the Vipers? If he can swing in suddenly and get a bunch of abducts, that'd be amazing. We do see Cure. Oh, he gets the cancel and the re-cancel as well. Serral, where are those Vipers? We gotta see what he can do with these. There they are. Blinding Clouds. Oh, he actually missed the Blinding Cloud. Does get 2 more behind this. It will be a very nice fight just before 2-2 completes. And Serral is gonna send Cure packing. Cure does get a pretty good hot pickup, but that was a nice cleanup for Serral. And actually, hang on, does Cure even have tanks here?
He's got 1 on the high ground, but you talk about that being a nice hot pickup. It is, but now like 80% of Cure supplies in the sky.
Yeah, exactly.
Not super useful here. So now the Lings and Banes are going to maraud forward, and the tank line is good enough now. But I want to go back to that Blinding Cloud, right? You say it missed it. Yeah, it didn't catch the tank, but it caught every single Marine. And that meant that Serral was able to dive right on top of that one. It really messes with the AI. And yeah, it didn't get the 1 tank, but it was the leading tank. It was the tank that Serral could get on top of pretty quickly. But now this drop into the main base, it's going to find the Ultra Cavern here. Cure going to target it down, and I think... Oh, it stays alive. Never mind. I was going to talk about how, chitinous plating is done, but Ultra Speed is going to be delayed here. Serral keeps it alive. Cure just over... Tunnel vision on that.
I mean, I don't blame him. Ultra Cavern is a juicy target. Not only is it, sometimes critical, maybe he could have denied chitinous plating. He didn't know that it was done already. If you get it, it's a big deal. But it's also the fact that it's an expensive building. 150 minerals, 200 gas. Hold that thought. We are going to see a big attack coming on in. Serral going around a corner into a very well sieged up position. This is a very expensive push. He does find a couple of tanks, gets a couple of SCVs, but I feel like that was that was an unnecessary attack. Serral didn't really need to force the issue there. I think I would have preferred to see maybe just a couple of abducts pick off the tanks and then go from there. As it stands, he still does have some big opportunities to keep pushing. Interesting addition of the Vikings to deal with the Vipers. That's curious.
Yeah, I kind of like it. Yeah, certainly you can fall victim to a parasitic bomb, but of course Vikings can dodge. You just land and not really run into anything there. And even then, if it's a parasitic bomb, that's energy not spent on shutting down the tanks, not shutting down the bio. And you talk about Serral not needing to attack into that set. I'll buy that, absolutely. But the composition that Serral's going for is on a little bit of a timer here. Here's going to pick up a little bit. Ultras are good if you get to the late game first, but they are... Oh, he's going to get a Viper there. Just not paying attention.
Snipe.
That's massive. Ultras are great as long as you're the only player in the late game. Once Cure gets to Ghost, it's going to be a problem. But for now, the Banelings and the Ultras, despite getting the Vipers here, are just going to crush right on through. Cure wasn't ready for this at all. Here, the medevac weren't in position. The bio has to kite backwards. And this was just a beautiful timing. 3-3 completed pretty much as the fight happened. And that was upgrade leads for Serral. That was better positioning for Serral. And yeah, he lost the Viper, but he won everything else.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal surround on the engagement there. Cure wasn't ready to take that fight. He thought maybe he could get some good positioning. Corrosive Biles on the way in weren't enough. There was only 2 Ravagers, but he gets the Liberator on the way out. The base did go down. Cure, he knows his economy just got crippled. He knows that Serral just threw away a lot. I like that he counterattacks. This is probably his best chance to try and get something done. But can he? Corrosive Biles stacking up the Vikings on top of them. Will eat some big Corrosive Biles, but it's of course the bio that is the big deal here. Lings, Banes, Ultralisks flooding forward, swamping the position of Cure. And while Cure may have had the best chance to win the game right there, Serral slams the door. And at this point, Cure, I think he's just going to run out of steam very quickly. He's already started rebuilding SCVs again. That is the correct call. But the Ultras, like you said, without Ghosts on the field, with chitinous plating, with that anabolic synthesis, it is really difficult to push into those Ultras.
That it is. And now Serral's just going to run across the map, and I'm not really sure what Cure's supposed to do now. Knocking down the... Oh, actually, I think the rocks have already been knocked down, so that's not a thing. Tanks are seized up on top of each other, so Blinding Cloud is just more than enough. There's not even a planetary in the 4th anymore. That was the main. Cure is dead. And Sarah, sometimes you look at these games steadfast, and you look at, say, the classic series, and you're like, okay, it's easy to forget, maybe not all that easy, but just how good Serral is. He can lose games. And then you see games like this, and it's just like, he looks untouchable. I'm sure there were many things Cure could have done there, but you just kind of look at the game as a whole, and you just ask yourself, what is Cure supposed to do there? Every stage of the game, Serral's just, he can't harass him. The harassment finds nothing. He finds exactly what he wants in the run bys. He gets the damage he wants, and he just wins the game. Just play like Serral.
And yeah, literally. This was the second best Terran player in the world, by all accounts. And Serral, with some great mind games in the early game, and some really solid engagements. Obviously, there was that one engagement where I was a little bit critical, but like you said, Serral was on a composition that wanted to trade. He never really looked at risk of losing that game. We can see there he is like kind of grasping his hand a little bit, in a little bit of pain maybe, but he looked really sharp in that game number 1, and we'll have to see if Cure can make any adjustments going to game 2, because, I mean, if it's more of the same, I'm ready to punch Serral's ticket into the round of 8. He's already through.
Yeah, the question now is what matchup does Cure want? We move into round 5. And certainly Cure can do more. We've seen him play incredible games against Zerg, but I feel like Cure is probably Serral's best matchup of all. Even we go down the list, like of the top 4 Terrans, of Byun, Cure, Clem, Maru, maybe 5, even you include Yumiho in there, because they have something different. Maru plays late game super well. Byun has his Reapers, Clem has his multitasking, Yumiho has his madness, and Clem just plays, and Cure just plays Terran. And if there's one thing that Serral's good at, he's beating standard opponents. But let's see if he's going to be able to make the comeback here in the upper left, in the red. He's down a game. It's Cure.
And his opponent spawning down in the bottom right for Basilisk. One map away from making it into the playoffs. It is Serral.
Okay.
And I am really glad we're seeing the switch up here. It's not something that I necessarily think you have to do as Terran, but I feel like it is just so strong these days. Just the 2 racks Reaper opening. And we've already talked about it a little bit. I just love the versatility of this build so much. It lets you do so many different things. The follow-ups are so different and diverse. And I mean, Cure, I think of him as one of those Terrans that's really good at clicking. I think of him as good at, target firing down workers, getting into a mineral line and just gunning things down. This is a build that it feels like, even though Byun is the one, and Solar said Byun's the best at this, I think this fits really well with Cure's repertoire and strengths as well.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from, Steadfast, right? Because it has this branching opportunity, and you can really build yourself into the mid game on top of that. But I don't think of, Cure has great micro, absolutely. I don't think of him as this micro god. I don't think of him as this multitasking god. He's just very, very solid. And as we saw in that Solar series, in that Solar series against Oliveira, right, where we saw Oliveira break out the 2 racks wall opening, and it just didn't look as good because we saw Oliveira just wasn't as comfortable with it. It wasn't quite within his wheelhouse. To really pull this off, it feels like this is something where you have to really be comfortable with how you want to play, with how it works, with all the branches and all the opportunities, and where you want your Reaper to be pretty much at every given point in the game. And I don't know that Cure, that's not what I think of when I think of Cure. I don't know that he is comfortable enough to really pull this off, but for now he's going to dive in, tries to get a drone, doesn't get it though. And now second Reaper, he might get this drone anyways, but Queens and Lings are out, so for now, he's gonna get this. Nah,
not quite, but some nice micro so far. Cure will follow this up with the traditional 4 racks setup. Now, even from here, there's a couple of different variants. You can pull the boys and make it a straight up all in. You can go for the like 2-base tank push behind this, and you just try and trade. Serral, for his part, he stays on 2 bases. And I've been saying that against the 3 racks Reaper opening, I've been saying for a while, it's really difficult for Zerg to take and hold a third base. I like this already so much for Cure. Now, it's not to say he's won the game or anything like this, but I don't know how Serral reacts to this setup, and I'm really curious to see what his response is going to be. And also, can he get the scout? I think the Overlord. Hang on. Actually, did he see the barracks right away? Oh, he might have seen it. Oh, he did. Okay, yeah. He knows exactly what this is then. Never mind. He is big chillin'. Now, I'm curious to see what his macro response is going to be and how many drones he goes up to before he cuts.
Yeah, you talked about the evolution out of this build. I want to amend what I said a little bit because Cure has done this in the GSL. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. But the cool thing about that is when Cure played this, he turned it into an 8 racks. And now, granted, that's not in this game. We're just kind of waiting to see how Serral responds. Seems like roaches are going to be the response. But the cool thing about what Cure did in that game was it was a 4 reactor, 4 tech lab 8 racks. He was building Hellbats on top of it. It was a 200 supply 2-2 timing, which is not how we see 8 racks happen for the most part. Now, again, not going to happen in this game. But Cure does have some unique ideas about how he tries to play out of that. For now, though, Sim just about done. Combat shields halfway there. So Cure's going to get ready to move out right now in the next 10 seconds. And Serral's going to be very ready for this. He's going to have a ton of roaches. Speed is done. This push from Cure kind of feels almost over before it's even getting started because, again, Serral just had the scout.
Yeah, he got the scout very early on. The roach response, by the way, is really great against the all-in version of this. Serral, for his part, did stop at 44 drones. He does have 3 gases right now, but he is going to need those roaches. Now, the 2-base tank all-in against the roach play, I mean, it's not... The roaches... Like, you're going to be able to morph Ravagers. That's going to be nice. But the reason the roaches are good against the SCV pull all in is because, of course, the roaches have that armor. For one, they can kite. They can always trade with the SCVs, and the SCVs don't hit very hard. Whereas against the Lings, the workers are going to do a lot better. Now, we will see... Oh, Cure just disengages wisely. He knows he can't really fight here. But that means Serral's going to be able to... Well, first, I think he snipes down a Marine, which is kind of nice. And he's going to be able to respread the creep. Behind this... Serral, okay, I was going to say, is he going to drone up at all even? And he will build a few drones. He does need to recognize what the follow-through is. It is going to be a 3rd command center behind this from Cure, but for sure he's going to want to get a lot done with the first push. Still, it won't be as committed as I was maybe expecting it could have been.
Yeah, the one thing I like about this out of Cure is, he was scouted, it was rough, his Reapers didn't get that much done. He saw the roaches and he backed up. He kept his army supply alive, and that means that he's still down on army supply, but it's against roaches. You kind of expect that. It means he can play a little greedier. It means that he actually has a shot at dealing with whatever it is that Serral ends up throwing at him, because he's still got those 20 Marines, and that is tremendous power, especially as the medevacs start to hit the field and you can start to heal things up a little bit and get that +1 timing. Oh, Reaper on the other side, though, is going to get a drone. That's pretty nice. More importantly, though, it's a scout on how many workers are at the 3rd base. That's going to give Cure maybe a little bit of sense of safety that this is not a 2-base timing, 2.5 base timing, something like that. But Steadfast, look at this. Infestation Pit, 2nd Evo. That Carapace was not for Serral to hit some sort of kind of Ling Bane Roach or Ling Roach Ravager type of push. That's just to keep him safe. He's going to 4 bases. This game's going to go a little later.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it is. For Serral, did he scouted the 3rd command center with that Overseer, right? Or did it get denied? Either way, he's got the read that it is a, not just a 2-base all-in. Oh, he's going to add on +1 missile as well as a couple of infestors right before he gets into that hive. So he skips the pathogen glance. We'll just build these 2 infestors. I love these 2 infestors. This is another thing that I feel like, well, actually, Bly even did this a little bit at like the beginning of Legacy of the Void, but I feel like Dark does this more with this setup, where he will just build 2 infestors. And if you catch 16 Marines on the map, even if there's medevacs there, if you hit the double fungal and you chain it correctly, you're going to kill a lot of those Marines very quickly. It can be a really, really nice find. And Cure loves using the 2-pronged double drops, and we see that obviously in this game. But I like Serral's setup going into the late game. However, Serral actually loses track of this for a moment, but not long enough to actually cause any damage. Good job from Serral.
Yeah, and as we look at this, I love the addition of the Lurker Den as well. So game one, we saw Serral go roaches into melee. You got Ling Bane, Ultra. He hit that 2-2 timing with everything, Ling Bane Ultra. And it was great. He sledgehammered through and Cure died. And now we're seeing Serral. He's got the Infestor that you talked about, that's a fantastic unit just to buy some time. But he's got a Lurker Den on the way. He's going to get Lurker upgrades fairly quickly here. And again, it's one of those situations that even if Cure's reading into this and thinking this is a different style of game, he's going to be in trouble. Now, it is incumbent upon Serral to make sure that Cure doesn't get the scout on here. And yeah, not going to happen.
Fungal.
Oh,
that
okay,
scan
gets the medevac.
was so clutch.
Oh,
that was
so
the
clutch
sickest scan. Oh my! Without that scan, the fungal connects. I'm almost guaranteeing it. Oh, we do see the push on the right side. Cure with a little bit of a spread as he, I think, saw that Infestor. This is a big, bulky army, and the Lurkers are not out in big numbers just yet. And I don't think we have any Vipers. Serral. Oh, he finds his opponent unsieging everything, but there's enough Marines in a big enough concave that Serral's he's gonna feel discouraged to go in anyways. Meanwhile, it looks like, ooh, did one of the medevacs die? I think it did. To those queens. Yep. Yes. Nice job from Serral with the target fire, getting those queens in position. And behind this, +1 melee, as well as that +2 carapace. So Serral going to transition into more options here. But Cure, for now, they're mostly just posturing in the middle of the map. He is going to need to recognize that meaningful hive tech is coming in the form of those ranged lurkers. And if he doesn't get into ghosts, I mean, you can go heavy tanks. Oh, nice job from Serral. He can go heavy tanks, but then Vipers are going to be a big problem. I still think ghosts are necessary right now.
Oh, 100%. I mean, especially against this army with not only is it lurkers and not only is it infestors, but it's heavy units that are heavy in supply.
Oh, fungal.
It's what ghosts are perfect at dealing with. Now, Serral does not want to go down this ramp. He gets the tank. That's kind of the extent of things. But look at this. You know, now we're moving into melee, and granted, you want that. You want heavily upgraded lings in the late game. That is run by power. That is counterattack power. Your army is always just going to be a little slow as you stay on roaches. But now there is this. It feels like there might be some bit of a transitional period, a transitory period that Cure can start to find some value because again, his 2-2's going to be just about done. He's got a heavy tank count here. This army, if he's able to find the lurkers on siege, can be very, very nice. But if the lurkers are sieged, I mean, it's a little bit rough. He's going to get on top of a double, though. But now the fungals are gorgeous, and Cure's army has just disappeared. Serral's a magician. Here's your army. Here's your not. Where'd it go? I don't know.
That looked like such a big opportunity for Cure. I really like that he had the killer instinct, but as soon as the army swung in on the right side, he needed to get out of there. Wasn't able to do so too easily. He did disengage before it became a total disaster, but that was still very good for Serral. Nice Abduct gonna grab one of these siege tanks. And this is the problem I was talking about, the Vipers. There's no answer to them at the moment. Siege tank almost killed the Infestor by accident as it gets abducted in there, and there was no other units that could see it. Nearly killed it. Oh, Adaptive Talons is done. He's going to move in on top of these units. Good decision to go for the hot pickup. If he doesn't, he maybe just loses everything. The fungal growth on the medevacs is great. Oh, and he actually does get one. Oh, there's Hydras here too. Oh, target down that one medevac. He does get it. Very nicely done from Serral.
Now, Cure he's going to get a kill on that hatch on the right side. And the one thing we have to point out here, as good as that sequence of events was for Serral, and make no mistake about it, it really is good. Serral is only on 4 bases. Cure does have his 4th base on the way. The moment he kind of backs up, he might be able to hold that down, get the planetary. So, yeah, you know, Serral's army is great. His economy is not incredible, but look at this Steadfast. 7 Dropper Lords on the way. I can understand 1 or 2 for like Lings or Roaches or just to use them. 7 Dropper Lords signals attack. Put lurkers in them or something. Just go right now.
Oh, lurker drops would be so sick, but at the same time, that is a lot of high-value units inside there. We do have Ghosts, but they're a little bit exposed. I don't think Cloak is done. They do pull back, but Cure, he's going to have to lift the command center. That is not comfy. Serral, even though he lost one of his bases, he killed so much of his opponent's army. Ooh, Abduct will grab one of those Ghosts. Cure, oh my God. Oh, it dodges the spines. That was James Bond Ghost right there. Man. That Ghost had some jukes. But another siege tank goes down, and Cure still cannot mine from this base for a little bit. It's still a good move from Serral. Impressive micro play, though, from Cure. Hey, there it is.
There we go. That's what I thought we were going to see. It's like, yeah, you know, you can't go in like on top of the army. That's a problem. But you can put 7 dropper lords of roaches and lurkers and lings and whatever else you have in the main base and camp up the Terran production. Cure has to deal with this. If he lets this go too long, it's going to be a problem. But ghosts are already here, and a lot of those lurkers went down very quickly. Meanwhile, Serral jumped on the army in the middle of the map. It's taken Cure a little bit longer to knock this down. 2 lurkers remain, but they're shredding everything. My God, that's a choke.
That was so good for Serral right there. He puts the extra pressure on the front. He's never doing just one thing at once. Smashes through the front, gets a great trade in the main base, and now he is on top of this 4th base for the planetary. Cure is reeling, and there is just not a whole lot he can do at this point. Even if he cleans this up, Serral's Remax is going to be so potent. I love that Serral's getting at a Bane speed right now. He doesn't even need to go into more lurkers. He can literally just go Hydraling Bane and absolutely run Cure over. And there will be nothing the Terran can do, I don't think.
What's Serral's larva situation now? He's only on like, his extra hatches are only getting added right now. That's a slow Remax. And you talk about not being able to, or being able to just go Hydraling Bane. I think I'd like that more, right? Against the ghost count that we have coming out of Cure. But if your larva count isn't where it is, you need high value, high supply units, larva efficient units to make that happen. Or you can go for a run by like this. You just prevent Cure that counterattack opportunity. 2 tanks go down, he gets a little bit more. And now he's onto the mineral line, but it's not going to get much. The key value here, the key thing, the point that Serral made out of making that pressure happen, he pulled the army of Cure back. He bought time for his macro cycles to go forward, to get that larva out, to be able to build this next version of his army. And now that slim timing that Cure may have had when Serral just wasn't quite ready, when he didn't have the larva for the Remax, it's gone now. Serral's up 50 supply. Lings are going to continue to find this 3rd base. And Cure, his economy is just, he can barely mine out of his 4th because there's a lurker there. He can barely mine out of the 3rd with the run bys. And now 3 more lurkers into the main.
God, holy lurkers.
That's a lot of lurkers.
That's a lot of
Is
damage.
it too many?
That is so many bloody lurkers right there. And they just sit there for a moment. It's kind of comical, but look at this. He spreads the lurkers. 3 lurkers get into the main base, and they go all over the place. Meanwhile, a 4th lurker in on top of the mineral line. Serral, he is going to siege those lurkers on top of this base, and it is going to die in a hilariously short amount of time. GG gets called. He sees 20 lurkers. He says, nah, I can't deal with it. Serral punches his tickets into the playoffs, and we see the hood go up as GG goes down. Darth Serral makes it happen.
Yeah, again, we talked about it after the last game. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes it's easy to forget just how good. We know he's good, right? We know he's probably the best player in the world, but just how good he is. And then, you know, he just eviscerates. Again, the 2nd best Terran. According to Illegal Act, the number 3 player in the world. And it's just, he takes his gutting knife and just right on in there. He gives Cure no option. And this game was closer, you know. Cure, even with the opening kind of dealt with, he was able to go mid, he was able to go late, but like, when you do that, when you just chain fungal and you kill a bunch of medevacts at once, I mean, it's just so rough. And the key thing about this Deadfest, on top of this being just a tour de force out of Serral, this was a game where he showed very different games. This is not the standard Serral style we're used to seeing. So he opened the playbook even more. And in this game where he moves on to the playoffs now, no longer can we say, wow, you know, he showed styles and this is maybe something like, this is hard now. He's hiding, he's no longer hiding things. This is, you're on watch, Terran players. I can play everything.
Yeah, and he started to mix that in a little bit more in relatively recent history, but it makes him so dangerous. We already know he's one of the best ever macro players in terms of a standard straight up game. But now that he is becoming a much more complete player, it just makes him so dangerous, so difficult to deal with. And Cure just really didn't have an answer. It's not like Cure didn't play well. It's just that Serral played, you know, transcendental. Like, he played outstanding. And yeah, that kills almost every Terran in the world I would be really curious to see how Maru would have done in that situation in that game number 2. It probably would have been difficult even for him, but that's the beauty. We still could get that match in the playoffs.
Yeah, Steadfast, I thought that, you know, I followed the GSL results. I thought Terran was Imba. Like, and then it's like, oh yeah, no, it's just there's no Serral playing in the GSL, so that's fine. But now that means, of course, that that Serral has moved on. Arcure, though, he's still got an option. He still has an opportunity, and he's either gonna get. I think the matchup says that he can't get a rematch, so he's not gonna get Clem. And that means he's gonna either have to fight Hero or Spirit in that final match. I know, it's got to be Hero, right? Because he played Spirit round 1. Unless they are kind of doing away with that rule.
I have no idea. We will.
I don't know.
We will figure it out. But we are going to get an interview being set up momentarily. I think we're ready for that. Did I miss here? We are ready for that. All right, let's get into it.
All right.
Welcome
Serral.
you. Oh, no, go for it.
Go Steadfast.
All right. Welcome, Yuna. First of all, congratulations. You're looking very happy, and as you should. That was a great series victory. Clean over Cure. But I want to rewind a little bit to your series versus Classic before we, you know, talk about this Nuck stuff. First of all, congratulations. You made it to the playoffs. Were you surprised by the level of play we saw from Classic there? Because he played really damn well. Obviously, you won that game 2 in unmatchable fashion. I don't think any other player in the world could have done it the way you did it, but very impressive still. Classic. He really impressed the hell out of me. What are you thinking about him in this tournament?
Yeah, Classic played really well, actually better than I would have expected. The first game, I think I had a pretty good, strong early game. I was actually kind of thinking of doing a Viper timing initially, but I ended up canceling the infestation bit there and just going without the Vipers and layer tech only. But it was the wrong call that time, and I couldn't break him. The game ended up, became pretty scrappy after that, but yeah, it was really hard to trade when he had all the splash, he had Storm there, he had Colossus and a bit of everything, so it was a rough match, and obviously second game, that's what I like to play, and I usually win those, but he did a really good job. Constantly running the speed prisms made it so hard for me to do actually anything offensively, so it was just good play all around by him. Obviously the last game there's not much to it. I just did like, that was a bit of a build order loss. I shouldn't have gone for that. I saw it as a one void trade. He obviously played the same build against Raynor, but I was 100% sure he wouldn't do it again against me. But he did, and yeah, the rest is history.
Fair enough. I mean, very true. But yeah, like I said, I think he impressed all of us with his play. But I don't want to, you know, talk about that because you are in the playoffs. You did just beat Cure, and you did it in really impressive fashion, borrowing some play from some different, you know, areas. You know, you kind of did the Eric opener into like a little bit of Roach play, into that like Roach into melee upgrades, which is borrowing a little bit from Dark. And then you played, you know, very quick lurkers. How, I want you to kind of describe the growth you've gone through as you've expanded your repertoire and become like so dangerous. How much of that is you being like, oh, I like this and picking and choosing versus how much of it is like, okay, this looks good, I'm just going to take it as it is?
Yeah, well, I have been adding Roach play to my repertoire already for a very long time. I have always liked it. The first times I started picking it up, I couldn't really make it work, but then there was a Dark made Infestors, I copied the Infestor play, and then I started making it work again, and then even without Infestors, I got some ideas and started making it work a little bit any way I wanted to. And yeah, I just feel like the opening's very flexible. I do think if Baron just goes straight late game or something, I'm not really necessarily liking my spot because I made the Roaches and Ravagers and they don't really do anything in that late game pace anymore. But usually, yeah, the games just go very smooth, and I feel like I'm in control for the most of it. So it's just nice to play, and obviously I want to also be just flexible with strategies and do a lot of stuff.
That makes sense. And I mean, definitely a lot of flexibility shown. Beowulf?
Yeah. So Serral, again, congratulations, moving on to the playoffs. The question now we have to ask is, you have up to 7 other players you're going to run into. We don't know everyone who's going to make the playoffs just yet, but you know, your run, like you're going to run into, I don't know, just 2 yet. Who do you want to run into? Like, is there anyone that you want to rematch with? Anyone you just kind of want to get out of the way early as we get ready to move on into those playoffs tomorrow and Sunday?
No, no one really comes to my mind. Obviously, I would like to dodge Raynor for a little bit at least, maybe play in the finals with him. Or obviously don't want to get Maru first round 8er, but in general, I'll just take whoever I get and try my best there. It would be kind of nice to play against Classic again, get the revenge, but at the same time, I don't really need that 8er. It's just whatever comes, I'll play against him.
Yeah, fair enough. And that question part 2, you just played Cure, you 2-0'd him. Do you think he gets out in round 5?
It depends who he will play, but I would assume he's a pretty big favorite there. I would guess like, well, I'm not sure who's left. I haven't been following that closely, but like I think like Hero would probably be the hardest one, but he's also really good at TVP, so I think it's pretty likely he'll make it through.
All right, gotcha. So Serral, thanks so much for joining us.
I guess
Good luck tomorrow.
And Dark actually.
Fair enough. Anyone apparently is going to be a hard matchup, which is fair. It's hard. Again, congratulations on moving forward. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck maybe Sunday. Hopefully you'll make it there. But for now, we're gonna say goodbye to you. Have a good rest of your night. Get ready, and we'll see you tomorrow. And that was Serral, the finisher, the phenom, the myth, the legend, brutalizing Cure in that series. But Steadfast, that means now we have 1 more series remaining. I know I said it was penultimate series 2 series ago, but we have 1 more because we're just that lucky. It's going to be Spirit, it's going to be Clem in that European Terran matchup to determine one of the last slots, the last 3 slots in round 5 to find their way into the playoffs. Do that, we do have to go to a break. So 1 more time, we'll be right back. This one is for a final slot of the playoffs at Gamers8. See you then.